On Monday, De'Aaron Fox signed a contract extension with the San Antonio Spurs. According to Shams Charania of ESPN, the deal is for $229 million, maximum contract for 4 years. The numbers we'll really know until next summer when the new cap numbers come in for 26-27. So basically, if there's a 10% spike in the cap by next summer, then Fox will get that $229 million for 4 years. However, if it's a lower number, like the projected 7% increase in the cap, then he's probably going to be signing for $222 million for 4 years. Again, this really depends on the spike in the cap, and we won't know those details until June 30th, 2026, when the NBA usually puts out these salary numbers for the following season. So again, just know that Fox is going to get 30% of whatever the cap amount is next summer, and then from there it builds off 8% raises in the forward years going forward. It's always tied to 30% of the cap. So I wrote a piece over on the spotupshot.com where I looked at each year for the Spurs' cap sheet, just kind of projecting where everything stands. And I'll just kind of give a quick summary of that piece. So in year one of Fox's deal, the Spurs are still going to have some financial flexibility. In year two, Wemby's extension would kick in as well, so you'd have Fox and Wemby on max extensions. However, there would still be some financial flexibility on San Antonio's roster to make some moves, with their roster. Then in year three, it gets tricky because now Stephon Castle's extension would kick in. It really depends on Castle's number. Right now, it's too early to call what that number would be. But if he were to get a max, then yeah, it puts them over the Spurs over the first apron, over the luxury tax, and then there's limited financial moves they can make. If Castle's number comes in lower than his max, then there is a little bit more financial flexibility. And then same thing for year four is where the Spurs' cap sheet really gets constrained because now not only do they have Fox on a max extension, they have Wemby on a max extension, they have Castle on some sort of extension, but now Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant's extensions would kick in if they were to sign extensions with the Spurs. And again, that too comes down to what are the numbers for Castle, Harper, and Bryant, and then that's where are the Spurs over the second apron, or are they over the first apron? Because the further you go over the aprons, the less financial flexibility you have to make trades and do all sorts of different financial moves with your cap sheet. So again, that's just a quick summary of what's going to happen for where the Spurs kind of stand with Fox now on a max contract going forward in the next 4 years after this coming season. And I am going to dive more into these scenarios in a later episode of the Spot Up Pod I'm recording later on this week. Some other news that happened in the last 48 hours. Riley Minix will be back on the Spurs on a two-way contract, according to Shams Charania. Minix did have a qualifying offer to return to the Spurs on a two-way contract. The Spurs now have 16 players on the roster with Minix back, 14 players on guaranteed deals, 1 player on a partially guaranteed deal, and 2 players on two-ways. They have 1 open standard spot and 1 open two-way spot. I do want to throw out that they have a qualifying offer to Harrison Ingram right now to return on a two-way contract.